This is a DSi LL. This is a Japanese Burgundy console. The LL just being the Japanese equivalent of the DSi XL. This is shell number WJF101013299. I'm just going to quickly go over why I gave it the condition score that I did. For the physical condition of the shell, I gave it a 1 out of 3. I will go over why I gave it such a low score, but just as I go through my process. I don't mean to spoil it. So the glossy shell has some very light scratches on it. I'll pan my light over. Very light. There's nothing deep or significant, just really light, just hair scratches all over it. There's the ring of wear around the outer shell, I'm guessing just from normal use. The LED diffusers have a little bit of damage to them. Get my light here going. There you go. I'm guessing just a little bit of scuff marks. Those LED diffusers probably came from a pretty rough looking shell where this whole hinge was all beat up. Doesn't impact their performance, they're just a little cosmetic blemish that you can see. Top shell is in otherwise good shape. I do note just little light marks here all over the shell. One right there below the hinge. And around the shell, there's just some marks right there. Bottom shell's in very good shape. There's a little bit, there's a mark right there, there's a scratch right there, and most notably, if you pan light over it, is right next to the barcode, there's a remnants of a sticker. Now, it's not tacky, because I cleaned this shell, but all of my conventional cleaning methods that weren't abrasive couldn't get rid of that. I'm guessing that's just discoloration from that sticker being on there for a long time. Inside of the shell, it looks very good. I do notice there's some like scuff marks here right above the camera. It's almost a little hard to tell. They're just some little white dashes. And on the bottom shell, it looks very good, but as I'll pan my light over it to try and show, there is also the remnants of a sticker again. Another sticker. Now that's a lot less easy to see, a little harder to see, I should say. But that is discoloration from a sticker being there. I'm guessing just it protected the shell from the thumb being wearing down the shell. I believe that was it for the physical condition of the shell. So normally I would give that on its own, I would give that a 2 out of 3, a very good, just because of the various scuff marks. But I did give it a 1. And that's because on the interior of the rear shell, right where the shoulder buttons sit, which I'm going to grab a shell right now. So here's what the interior of the shell looks like. Right in these little slots, right in here, these are where the shoulder buttons sit. In this shell, there's a little bit of remnant rust from when the shoulder buttons rusted out. Water somehow got in there and rusted out the shoulder buttons. I cleaned it the best I could, but getting rust out of plastic is incredibly difficult and time consuming. So what I ended up doing is grabbing some Kapton tape and isolating the buttons away from the shell itself. I'll grab the button right now. This is the right shoulder button that also has the SD card slot. Now this button is made of, or has a metal housing on it. So what I did is I put Kapton tape around it and then stuck it into the shell. So that created an actual barrier between the button itself and the shell. So even though I did that, theoretically, that rust should never get that button unless this thing is submerged again or water else finds its way in there. The rust shouldn't get to the button, but there is still rust on the shell. So I thought I should point that out, and it is still a blemish. So internally, it is something related to the shell, so I had to knock off an extra point. The shoulder buttons work fine. I did test those. They are they are good shaped buttons. I didn't replace the buttons themselves, but I did pull the shoulder buttons out of a known good console, or one that at least wasn't subjected to so much water damage. Moving on. Physical condition of the hardware, I gave a 2 out of 3, a very good. Mainly because there's just a little bit of paint chipping on the shoulder buttons. R button, it's a little hard to see with my camera. The L button is a little more prominent. There's just a chip taken out of the corner. Yeah. You can't feel it. At least I couldn't feel it with my gloved hand or when I was doing testing. It wasn't unusual. The physical condition of the screens, I gave an excellent. As I sort of pan my light over, you'll see that they're in very good shape. All the specs you see are dust. I'm in a very dusty environment. Try to do the best I can, but every time I wipe away, more dust finds its way down. I will note that there are 2 very light scratches on the bottom screen. I kind of get my light over it. There's one right there. That one is fairly obvious. And then there's also another right here. Any of the other marks you see are just smudges. But both screens have screen protectors, so they shouldn't get any worse. And they will be protected. The screen condition, the actual LEDs themselves. Excellent. I have no problem with these. When I have my lights shining on them, it does look like the top screen is a little more blue. When I turn my lights off, however, I don't see a difference in them. As I show them on the camera right now, it did kind of look like the top screen was more blue with my lights on, but right now I can hardly tell a difference, if any at all. Like, I could be perceiving this top screen as just a touch more blue, but I really can't tell. So, for all intents and purposes, these screens are as close to matched as my human eyes can tell. And so that is why I gave it the condition score I did. Just as a disclaimer, this is a Japanese console, which means, as you saw as I booted this thing up, it's in Japanese, and it cannot be changed to English or any other languages. That is, unless you homebrew it. There are also other restrictions that come with a Japanese console, as in it will not read region-locked content. I will actually display that right now, because I figured this out recently. So the DSi is region-locked, but it's only with certain titles. Certain titles are considered DSi enhanced. Mario vs. Donkey Kong Miniland Mayhem being one of them. This cart will work just fine in any of my US-based consoles. However, when I plug it in, it doesn't appear. This is because this game is DSi enhanced, and it's a US region game. It will not work. So that is also another thing that can be solved via homebrewing. You can remove the region locks, or simply just not have to worry about instances like this. But otherwise, if it's not a DSi enhanced game, which I will have information about what games are and aren't DSi enhanced as to the extent of my knowledge, and otherwise, it will play every other game just fine. So that's why I gave it the condition score I give, and a little bit of more information regarding the Japanese console.